Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen Williams with the creditrepairshop.com, and I'm not in a suit today because it is going to be a heat index of up to 112 degrees. Can you believe that? Up here in Wisconsin, way up north, they are saying that it could be up to 112. The heat index, 112. So I'm wearing my other company, Blue Book Publishing Company. I'm representing with that t-shirt or polo type shirt that we have for our company shirts. Um, and if you are, with your phone, why don't you show me some support? You can go online, go on your app store and type in Blue Book Black News. It's a mobile app, has different things that's going on in the black community, news, alerts, breaking news, things that you're not going to see in the regular news cycle. A lot of the stuff you don't see, or we get it first, and then we put it out there, and then it might come in the news cycle later, just because we're targeting what's going on in the African American community. So go to your app store, either Google Play or iPhone, type in Blue Book Black News. I really appreciate it. It's 100% free. All you're doing is just looking at the things that's going on. So now, uh, I always start with the report, and I got the new report, and this is just one company with debt. It's Citibank. Is it Citibank? I'm sorry, it's Chase. Chase, these are all just credit cards, defaults from Chase from all the different states. I'm going to run down them, but I also want to talk about that. If you've been watching my videos, I always talk about like things happen for a reason. Like we're all connected. You're watching my video because of a reason. You have a need. Somehow you typed and you saw my specific video, not someone else's, or you came to mine included with the other group of people that you watched. You're gonna probably, if we're connecting, you're gonna watch this total complete video because we're making a connection, because you not only believe that I might have an answer or be able to help you, but you have a feeling of it, and the feeling of it is the connection that we are having with each other on a vibration level. And that means that what I'm telling you as a solution, if it gets into your mind and you're willing to believe it and put it into action, that it could be the solution that you've been waiting on. Or this information I'm about to give you is something that you're going to need in the future, and that's the reason why you're watching this video, because you're going to be needing it in the future. And to pull that all together is that over the years I've been making these videos, and I've talked about the situation with the debt collection companies, and I was like, why? One of the things that I've been seeing a lot of, including with this one, is that there's a lot of debt that's being put into the market that's even past the statute of limitations. The statute of limitations it's different for every state, but just about all of the debts that I'm about to call off on here, 100% of them is past the statute of limitations for collecting debt. They have no legal right to collect these debt. But let me tell you something that happened to me this weekend, because I'm invested in another company. So that's going to be company number 6. That'll be opening up next month, and got this packet in the mail from the state, because there's certain licensing that I have to go through with this company. And they sent back some information about one of the employees that I wanted to have be one of the staffing on my staff for that company. And I was shocked when I got that information, but what it did is it made a connection with what we're seeing here with these debt collectors. Now, what happened with the well, first let's go through the debts, and then I'm going to tell you that story about what happened with that. These are all Chase credit cards. Alaska 4,000. Arkansas 71,000. California 4.1 million. I'm just going to go over the big ones. I won't go into those other ones anymore. Florida 5.2 million. Georgia 110,000. Hawaii 17,000. Idaho 10,000. Kansas 15,000. Louisiana 46,000. Maine 16,000. Maryland 23,000. Michigan 24,000. Michigan is a very tough state to deal with debt collection companies. They have all types of ways of stepping on consumer rights in Michigan. Montana 23,000. New Hampshire 80,000. New Jersey 136,000. Pennsylvania 263,000. Texas 2.8 million. And we got Virginia. Yeah, Virginia 77,000. Washington State 51,000. Utah 15,000. The rest were like 10,000 and below with the other states. So that's the debt there. So now, what? And all of those are past the statute of limitations. That's the crazy thing. They're all past the statute of limitations. I think the oldest piece, the oldest group of debt, excuse me, the oldest group of debt, or the youngest group of debt was 2010. All the rest was before. It was like 2008, 2007, 2009. That's 100% past statute of limitations for debt that a person hasn't either paid a payment on or hasn't became a judgment. And they wouldn't be selling those groups like that if they hadn't became judgments. But let me tell you the strategy on why they are doing this. This is, if I wasn't starting this other company, I probably would not have ran into that unless a customer had came to me. And this problem has happened before when I had a person that was one of my clients, and they were applying to become a Secret Service agent, and they had a debt collection on their record, and they said unless that was resolved, they were not going to be able to apply to become a Secret Service agent. So we had to attack that specific debt, and we ended up doing a settlement, and the gentleman is a Secret Service agent today. But with this new company that I'm opening up, got this stack back that said that we were not able to have an individual on staff that we wanted to have on staff. And you would be wondering, why did they do something like criminally, something like that? Because everyone does have to have a background check to work for this particular company that I'm starting. And what ended up happening is that they had collections. They had judgments. And it said that even as an employee of the company, they were not able to work for me for that company. And this is not a financial company where we're going to be looking at people's finances. This is not a company where we're going to need a social security number from someone to be able to do work for them. It has nothing to do with that. So what seems to be happening is, on one side, they loosen up the reins on the credit. On the other side, they make it harder for people to be able to pay their credit, to pay their debts, and to have a job that's going to be able to pay a good livable wage or even more. That's what this company would be able to do. These are all very good wage that we will be paying to people. But it sent back a stack, and it said that this individual had judgments against them, and that unless they were resolved, that they would not be able to be on the staff for our company. And I thought that was incredible. Like, so this is the new wave. So what they're going to be doing, and it won't be able to happen to everybody, but you know that if you don't respond to a debt collector that sends you that letter in the mail, the next step that they'll take it to is to go to the judge and get a summons. And then when they go and get the summons, if you don't show up or if you don't have the appropriate arguments, if you don't know about the statute of limitations, if you don't know about your rights, if you just totally disregard it, which if you look at the court records, if you go down to the courthouse, 95% of the people don't show up, and then the small 5% that show up, probably only 1%, less than 1% know their rights. The rest are just showing up because they have the personality of a person that just wants to go, and if something's going to happen, they want to be there to see what's going to happen. They may not even be able to know anything. They're just going to answer to the debt. They took the summons serious when it said to come to court. They took it serious and they showed up and went to court. But when they got into court, they didn't know any of their rights. They just listened to the judge, listened to the debt collector's lawyer, and just went on and then got the judgment, and now they're in trouble. So now this is the strategy, and the strategy was, which is still part of their strategy with the debt collectors, is to do that and then get you afraid of losing your job, and they go and garnish your wages, and they get 100% of the debt plus whatever fees they stack on top of it. That's been the strategy. Now to add on to the strategy, what some states have allowed them to do was to allow them to actually put a arrest warrant for you for the debt. So if you do not answer or do not call them and say how you're going to pay the judgment that you have against you, then they can have you arrested. That was a strategy that was being used in a lot of states. Now, the next strategy that I see that is coming together is that the laws are being changed in every state slowly, depending on who is in control of your state. We see this a lot with pro-business type governments, which I'm business, so I want it to be pro-business, but I don't want it to step on consumers also. We see that this strategy now is to deny an individual the ability to work somewhere if they have collections. Can you believe it? So now, if you have collections, if you have judgments, you're not going to be able to work for a place so you're able to pay those judgments. It don't make any sense to me. I can understand maybe if you're working in a bank, some type of financial institution, you're handling people's social security numbers and stuff like that, but this is totally unbelievable. So now let's get into the solutions. Step number one with these debt collectors, whoever buys these Chase accounts, they're going to send you a letter in the mail. They're going to request that you pay the debt. It's going to look like a bill, but it's also going to be stating, if you read the entire statement or what the letter that they give you, it's going to say who it was from, the original creditor. It's going to probably say it like this. It's going to say a main debt collection company. Then it's going to have original with Chase, and then it's going to say whoever is the new owner. So what you need to do, number one, is you need to look at the origination date on that debt. If you do not know the origination date, you need to get copies of your credit reports, and you can look at the origination date. That's very important. There's a link below this video so you can go get your credit reports. Yes, there's a fee for those reports, but this fee will be way less than what the trouble that you're going to go through when you get hit by any debt collector, not even just these, any of them, because you need to know this information. So you need to get that origination date. It'll say it on your credit reports. If that is outside of the statute of limitations for your state, you can go to my website, thecreditrepairshop.com, and find out if the debt is past the contract statute of limitations for your state. If it is past it, you only have to do a simple letter, very simple, and you should send it certified mail, and it would go like this. Mr. or not Mr. Mrs. but the company, and you need to do it to all the companies, to the Citibank, the Chase, the original creditor. If it's a debt collector that bought it and then sold it to another one, and then the one who owns it now or who is assigned to collect it, you need to send it to all of them, and you need to state it like this. According to my state, this debt that you're trying to collect is past the statute of limitations laws for my state, and I wish for you to cease and desist any collection actions, or I'll be reporting you to the proper authorities in my state. And then you just put CC all of the companies, so all of the companies know that you notified all the companies. And then you put your state attorneys general, just say state attorney general for your state. Don't send it to them now. You just let them be on notice that you would be sending that to them. 99.99999% of the time, that will put a cease to them collecting that debt. Also, watch out for if they call you or you happen to answer the phone and you talk to them, watch out for this voicemail message or this statement that they make. I've actually heard this dealing with a client that had a credit card debt. It would say that they're notifying you that that they're trying to collect the debt, and that this is past the statute of limitations, and that you are willing to talk to them for some moral reason to pay this debt. In a roundabout way, they were letting you know, using some different language in their in their statement, that you do not have to pay this debt. But if you don't listen to it, you wouldn't know. And then when I listened to it for my client, I was like, this is crazy. They're letting people know that they're trying to collect a debt that you don't have to pay for. They're letting you know. And let me tell you the reason why they do that. Because legally, every debt collector, no matter what state they're in, they have to notify you if the debt is past statute of limitations. They have to notify you. Sometimes if you're talking on the phone, they're going to say it at the beginning, or they're going to say it in some weird words, but they have to tell you. And then if the other reason why they will buy these debts is because if you make a payment, $1, $10, whatever, you reset that debt. You've reset the statute of limitations on that debt. That's the reason why they're willing to go and do that, because a lot of people might say you have a $4,000 credit card debt. They tell you, don't worry about it, we'll work with you. Just make a $10 payment, and then we can work with you next month on how we can do this. That's the setup. They're just getting you, the $10 payment is to reauthorize, to reset the statute of limitations on the debt, to get you paying something, anything. It resets it for the next 7 years or whatever, depending on your state. And then they can start the process to go to court to get a summons to go after you for the debt. And when they look at when the judge looks at it, unless you're able to make a good case that they did lie to you to get you to get this debt going, again, to reset it, that you didn't even know that would be resetting the debt, it's going to just let that go straight into collections again. So you have to be very careful when dealing with that situation. So if it's past statute of limitations, you just have to do that. You don't have to go into any other thing. You don't have to mention nothing about how much it is, any of that. You just write that simple letter to make it go away. If it's not past statute of limitations, then you need to be ahead of get a handle on the situation, because you don't want to run into what this young lady ran into, where she's not even going to be able to have the opportunity to work for my company unless she resolves those collections situation. Just not going to have the ability to work for us. And so you need to be ahead of it. So if it's not past statute of limitations, then you need to look at it, and you need to see what type of resolution can be done with it. The first thing that you have to do is you have to still validate the debt collection with the new owner of the debt that has the debt. When we do that, we want to request. I'm having trouble with that word today. Get all the documentation showing, number one, that you have a legal obligation to pay them. You want them to show you the paper trail of how they got the debt. Then you want to backtrack, and if it was sold to them by another debt collector, you want to ask them to provide documentation from that debt collector. And then you want to get all the documentation from the original creditor. If it was a credit card like these, you want all of the charges that you made with your signatures. You want the original contract showing that you did authorize to get that card. It does not matter that you have maybe had the card for years. You still have a right to get that information. They must maintain that information. They must provide that over to the new owner of the debt, because that's how they substantiate that you really did have this debt. I mean, they can't just sell the debt over without any documentation or paperwork that you really did make the debt. So you have a right to get that information. Once you get all of that information, then you can determine on what direction you want to go in. If they do not prove that you have to pay the debt, if they do not prove that they own the debt, if they don't prove your charges and stuff like that, then you have an argument for where you can argue directly with them that you want them to cease and desist the debt collection of the debt, because they have not proved that you have a legal obligation to pay them, or that legal obligation to pay anybody, because you don't have any paperwork showing that these debts are yours. If they and that also sets you up to go when you go to court, or before, if you know that they do prove it, it sets you up for a settlement phase that you could go through before you go to court, because they know once you go and you get all of that stuff, some things are going to be revealed that they don't want you to know about. Number one, which is what happened with me when I had a credit card debt way back in the 90s that came at me, is that when they give you the proof that they've purchased the debt, it's going to be like in a big stack. And what happened with me, it was a big stack of credit cards that they had purchased, and they had blacked out everybody else's, and it just had my credit card number that didn't exist anymore, and my name, and I had figured out that they had purchased that for pennies on the dollar. So it puts them into a strange situation when they have that information be revealed. The problem is most people don't know how to get them to reveal that, but legally they have to reveal that. They have to show everything on how they got the debt, and in that documentation you're usually able to find out how much they paid for your debt. With these ones here, they were selling this entire portfolio for $5,000, and the total amount on these was 13 million. So we got 13 million. So we're talking less than 3 cents. Less than 3 cents. Less than 3 cents. Yeah, less than 3. So what you can see that there's plenty of profit that these companies make in that. They're gonna have to invest some money to go after people, but you can see that there's plenty of profit in that. Less than 3 cents per debt for what they're selling that whole portfolio for. So you can see that if they get 1,000 people out of the group to pay, they're making a lot of money. So you have to know your rights on dealing with this. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them below. This is Stephen Williams with thecreditrepairshop.com. Until next time, thank you.